Hello and welcome to the Gazette's weekly Hockey Inside Out show. I'm Stu Cowan of the Gazette, and I'm joined this week by former Canadiens defenseman and 1986 Stanley Cup champion Rick Green, and my Gazette colleague and What the Puck columnist Brendan Kelly. Well, Rick, it certainly looks like the end is near for the Canadiens after they were beaten 4-0 in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Final Wednesday night by the Carolina Hurricanes and outshot by a wide margin. The Canadiens have been outshot 108-43 in the last three games, all losses, with the Hurricanes taking a 3-1 series lead. The Hurricanes can advance to the Stanley Cup final against the Vegas Golden Knights with a win in Game 5 Friday night in Carolina. Rick, this looks like a case of the Canadiens just ran into a team that is just much, much better than them. There's a reason why the Hurricanes are 10-1 now in the playoffs.
They're just an excellent all-around hockey club with four lines that are coming at you, and they're all playing the same way. Get the puck in, don't turn it over, finish your check, get pucks to the net, all the details that the Canadiens should realize that is part of their game plan isn't happening. And say what you want about, Montreal not responding. Well, you got to give marks to Carolina because they're a real good club. They know what they need to do. The discipline, the no odd man rushes. I mean, they forced in the first period. They outshot them 13-5, I guess, in the first period. You can't get shots on net when you don't have possession of the puck, and Carolina is so good at possession of the puck. And look at the way they cycle the puck, too, in the offensive zone. Strong on it, they win their battles, they come out of the corners with the puck, and that's what it's all about to have any successes. All those details you have to maximize them each and every shift, and they do a hell of a job doing it.
Yeah, Brandon, we're seeing now why the Hurricanes swept the first two series they played against Ottawa and Philadelphia, and it looks like the only thing that could slow them down, it looked like it was the 11-day break before the Eastern Conference Final. The Habs won Game 1. Since then, the Hurricanes are just flying. The Habs look like they've run out of gas. They look like they're done, don't you think?
They do, and you do never know. I mean, anything can happen. I mean, the team came back from 3-1 in 2021, but against the Maple Leafs, but how often is that going to happen? I mean, what really struck me in Game 4 was how defeated the Canadiens looked. The only guy who had a compete level going there was Jakob Dobesch. The body language of Martin St. Louis was a defeated man, and this is not good. I get it. The Carolina Hurricanes are a much better team, especially a way more experienced team. They've been through this a bunch of times. This is the youngest team in the NHL. I don't know. It was a super depressing game to watch just because they had no room at all. And you know what? I think they should have made some changes, and they tried midway through the game. There was just no room to move. But still, the whole shoot the puck thing with the fans yelling, shoot the puck. Well, yeah, some of it was Carolina shutting them down, but some of it, there's something wrong with these guys. Like Suzuki, that moment where he had the puck, shoot the puck. It's just unbelievable. So there are things that the Canadiens can do. Will they win the series? I mean, I wouldn't bet $10 on it. It appears they've run out of gas, so maybe you bring in other players, but there's not that many people to bring in, right? It's not like Wayne Gretzky's waiting in the wings.
The fans were chanting, shoot the puck in the third period. Canadiens didn't get a shot in the third period until there was like 2 minutes and 50 seconds left. Marty St. Louis said, they're right. They played that system, that puck possession system all year, and it doesn't seem to work against Carolina. But I also think, Rick, we're seeing now like the Hurricanes are highlighting. I don't think anybody expected the Canadiens to be in the Eastern Conference Final this year. I think the Hurricanes are just highlighting how there's still a lot of work to be done in this rebuild. I mean, Jake Evans is not a second-line center on a legitimate Stanley Cup contender. That's no knock on Jake Evans. I mean, he plays his heart out every single game. But I think we're seeing now, Rick, that the work that still needs to be done in this rebuild moving forward.
I think that conversation has been ongoing for most of the year, and it's easier said than done to make those things happen. And you try and take a chance because you have some guys that you'd like to give the opportunity to maybe step up to a higher role. And Jake Evans, it may be a little bit too much for him. But on the note of shooting the puck, and I have to really, respect Carolina. They got 68 block shots in 4 games. And if you watch how effective that group is each and every one of those guys with their sticks in the lanes, always in the shooting lane, and that is key to obviously having some successes. These guys are just committed to making sure they're paying the price, that pucks don't get through, and so good with their sticks and taking away lanes, and really, really aggressive, and a very good all-around hockey club, and they know what they need to do to find success.
Yeah, I think it's obvious. I mean, the Canadians need to find a second line center. They need to get a little bit more size and grit moving forward. I think Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton knew that before these playoffs started. I think at the deadline they just the price was too high to do that. But Brendan, that puck possession style they play, it worked in the regular season. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they had a great regular season. But do you think it can work in the playoffs moving forward? Is Marty saying we have to sort of change that philosophy?
I think it honestly, and look, they got to the conference final. That's on Martin St. Louis doing a great job and the players doing a great job. But it's just like, look at what's happening in front of you, man. It's not working, right? Particularly in the defensive zone. I think that really part of what's happening about not getting the offensive chances is if you can't get out of your own zone, you're not going to get an offensive chance. And they're doing that puck possession thing that St. Louis loves. We're doing those little passes back and forth. They often go backwards. And it's like, you know what? It is not working against the Carolina Hurricanes because they come in and they hard check really, really hard. So you know what? And I mean, it's to me, it's like simplify the game. They often say that's what you should do in the playoffs. Bang the puck off the glass and get it out, and then move forward and try to create something. At least you're out of your zone. Because how many times in the first, particularly the last 3 games, have you seen them try to do those little passes in their own zone and they don't execute properly? And Carolina's all over them. That's what their whole game is, right? And they're winning almost all of those puck battles. So that to me, that system's not working. And I know, listen, in the conference final, it's not obvious that you just go and change your system, but it really isn't working. And you know what? If it's not working in those 3 games, there's a lot of things not working. You got to change it up. You really do.
Well, Hurricanes, Rick, 8 seasons in a row in the playoffs with Rod Brindamore as their coach, or in the Eastern Conference Final, 3rd time in 4 years. They lost the previous 2 times. So they didn't have a long rest before going into that series. I think it's hard to play their style of play throughout the playoffs without getting that little break, or a long break, I should say. But like for the Canadians, like you've been a player, you've been an assistant coach. Is it possible? How difficult is it to sort of change the entire way you play, or have played through the entire regular season once you get into the playoffs and run into a team like Carolina where every single guy just plays the same way on that team?
Yeah, it's tough to make those kind of adjustments. And, when they start to force some issues, I mean, they had 7 defensive zone clearances that didn't get out, that ended up Carolina countering and being effective, on the rush. But they just... They're out of sync right now. And again, I got to credit Carolina. They always got a guy backing up each other on the defensive side. So if their D are going to pinch down, there's going to be a forward there that's going to cover for them. And it's really tough because they're aggressive in all areas of the rink, and there's not much room. And if you notice, even through the neutral zone, they jam it up. There's not much space for them to come through there with speed, and they're really good at it. And again, I have to give them full credit for playing a good all-around team game, and it's working against the Canadiens. How do you counter something like that? Well, first of all, you talk about puck possession. Well, in order for you to have puck possession, you have to make sure you win battles one-on-one, so you have the puck. But when you look at a lopsided stat with the shots and the opportunities against, you don't have puck possession. You're chasing the game. You're chasing the opposition. And they're doing too much of that instead of the ones that are initiating. And again, Carolina are really good at it, and Canadians have a hard time playing against that type of hockey club.
Yeah, Philip Deneau was saying after Game 4, their defensemen, the Hurricanes defensemen, pinch at the offensive blue line all the time, and he said you got to try and get the puck behind their D. But he said that's easier said than done. I mean, the Hurricanes have been playing this system for a long time. They've sort of perfected it. Brendan, they sure have frustrated Cole Caulfield. I mean, he doesn't look like he's having a lot of fun out there. Scored 51 goals during the regular season. He has 1 goal and 6 shots in 4 games against Carolina. Is this a sign that maybe he's just too small to be effective in the playoffs?
It's very worrying. And I think if you're looking at the future of the Canadiens, which we all are, and thinking, that was, he's a big part of that core, and of course had this breakout season, and he's been a sniper since day one or pretty quickly in this league. Is he just not able to play in this kind of tight, tough playoff? Because you know what? Slavkovsky's had a very disappointing playoff, but I think we all are expecting him to announce when it's all over that he's injured in one way or another. Cole does not appear to be. It's just, you know what? I mean, one of the fans, I go out and talk to the fans outside, as you know, every game night, and someone said the guy said, I play hockey, I'm a little smaller, and I get it. You have a reticence to go, to those dark, tough areas, and it really does look like that Cole is doing that. He's just backing off. He's a little tentative, and he just can't win those battles. And we've been talking about how hard it is to get shots. So he hasn't got a lot of hard shots off and a lot of good shots. He just doesn't look like the same Cole Caulfield. So that's very disturbing, because if he turns out to be a guy who's not a playoff guy, I mean, as Marc Bergevin used to say, there's guys that get you to the playoffs and guys that get you through. But if, our top goal scorer is not the guy who's going to be able to score those big goals in the playoffs, if he's a sort of Austin Matthews who never really brings it in the playoffs, that's a disturbing thing. And equally disturbing, and we've got to say it, is the first line has been a big disappointment in these playoffs. Nick Suzuki's played great, but again, another great quote from the same guy I was talking to last night out on the street is he's been a Selke-type defensive great player in the playoffs, but he's not a 100-point guy in the playoffs, right? He's not getting the big goals, and Slav isn't either. So, you know what? To me, it's amazing that you've gotten to the Eastern Conference Final without the first line pulling the team along. And that's the first line is like, along with Lane Hudson, they're the core of what the scoring in the team. And meanwhile, in the playoffs, it's been defensemen, it's been guys like Anderson, it's been guys like Newhook. So yeah, the Cole Caulfield thing is, he's hopefully, he's still a young player, that he learns how to play in the playoffs, but he looks like he can't take the heat. And particularly, you're playing like, I was going to say the Hurricanes, but all three teams, these are big guys that play tough, and he hasn't looked the same Cole Caulfield.
Well, Jakub Dobeš obviously is the biggest reason why the Canadiens are where they are. I mean, stopped 39 of 42 shots in Game 4. You're talking about the smaller guys. I mean, it's a big. You mentioned Slavkovsky, Brendan. No shots and only 2 hits in Game 4. Kirby Dach, no shots and 1 hit. Josh Anderson, 2 shots and surprisingly no hits from him. Ivan Demidov, 1 shot, no hit from him. Rick, Lane Hudson's a special hockey player. The Hurricanes have obviously put a target on his back and on Cole Caulfield's back. They hit Hudson every chance they get. He has no assists in 4 games against the Hurricanes, which would seem impossible going back to the way it was in the regular season. Only 1 goal on the power play. Is this another case of just a small guy who's going to struggle in the playoffs?
Well, I mean, Carolina's not stupid, right? They know that these guys log serious minutes, especially with Hudson. They know that Cole Caulfield, he loves to have time and space. You don't give him that. You make it difficult for him, excuse me, and you finish the check on him. And I don't think he's been hit all season as much as he's been hit in these playoffs. And this is an area of concern. And these guys, they get beat up. You're playing a lot of high-intensity hockey, and you get punished. And they're doing it to a T because they're trying to eliminate the effectiveness of those guys by physically making them aware that every time they touch the puck, we're coming at you. We're going to try and throw you off the game. And, as much as they're good character kids, it's not fun when you're playing that type of opposition that makes life miserable each and every shift that you're out there.
Well, Brett, Marty St. Louis, like one of his lines is you learn from failure, and I'm sure the Canadiens are learning a lot of lessons in this series, the players, Marty St. Louis, and management. I think on a bright side, though, one thing we have learned, talking about Dobeš, I mean, this guy looks like he can handle the spotlight in Montreal, and he's going to give Jacob Fowler, I think, a real battle to see who the goalie of this future is going to be.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of great things, and the run is not over, obviously, but there's been a lot of great things. The team made the conference final when no one, including management, thought that they would get there. And if there's one person who's the biggest reason they're in this conference final, it's Jakub Dobeš. I mean, this guy has been amazing. And think about it. I mean, he was, you're right, like you're mentioning Fowler. Fowler was like, okay, he's the guy. He's not ready now, but he'll be the guy. It was never Dobeš. He was picked way later. He didn't come with the pedigree. I mean, people have been talking about Fowler since his NCAA career. They weren't talking about Dobeš in the same way. And this guy has proved he's a great goalie. I mean, up until the game 4, I mean, he's had maybe one bad game. He's just been unbelievable. And what a thing for, we're talking about this rebuild, or I kind of like to call it the build now. And it's like, so all of a sudden, and Fowler, like, I'm sure he's going to be a great goalie. And so you could have very much two great goalies. And Dobeš, I mean, you got to say too, the thing about a goalie is it's mental as well. And this guy, people were worried, when he cried after that game and all that. But he's phenomenal. And oh my God, the fans love this guy, eh? I mean, I met a fan one night, a 21-year-old woman, and she says, I want to marry Dobeš. I mean, this guy, his attitude, I'm just a goofy goalie. When he was when he got interviewed on ice after one game and he yells at the crowd, "Ça va." He's unflappable. Every team, all 3 teams have tried to run him, right? And he just brushes it off. He laughs at them. He chirps at them. He does the staring contest with the players. And oh man, I mean, look at game 4. I mean, that could have been, because there was one empty netter, so it was really a 3-0 game. It could have been 6 or 7-0. I mean, he made some absolutely astonishing saves. And honestly, I don't know. I think he was the only good player on the ice for the Canadiens last night. And he gave it his all. And it was like, it was clear 10 minutes into that game that they were probably not going to win it. But this guy has no give up. So you know what? That to me is probably the most encouraging thing if you're a Habs fan of this playoff is the arrival of Jakub Dobeš. I think he's been the best goalie in the playoffs. I mean, who was better? He was better than Vasilevsky. I mean, Vasilevsky was very good, but Dobeš won that series. He's been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, he really has been. And to say this, nothing seems to faze him. Nothing seems to bother him in this series. After game 4, he blamed himself. He said, I let in 3 goals. That's too many. But, the third period, it looked like a few guys had given up on the Canadiens. He certainly didn't. Rick, we're talking earlier about the Canadiens need to get some more size and grit. Arbor Xhekaj brings both of those things. I mean, I guess Marty St. Louis is worried about him with the puck, controlling the puck in the defensive zone with the high pressure that Carolina brings. But are you surprised they haven't used them at all? And would you bring him in the lineup for game 5?
Well, I'm not really surprised. I mean, even last time he was in the lineup, less than 4 minutes to play is not enough. I don't think the confidence level at this stage is high enough to warrant him being inserted in the lineup. I think it'd be tough for him to handle that. It's unfortunate because I think we've spoken highly of what he brings to the team, but at this stage I'm concerned that for a guy to play minimal minutes like that is not going to have that much of an impact. Even though he's on the bench, I don't think it's going to impact the overall game that much. And just the way that the game is playing out, with Carolina being so effective on the forecheck and putting pressure on those guys and forcing them to make bad decisions. I guess he's Martin St. Louis is feeling that he doesn't want to put Xhekaj in that position, but you never know. He maybe will look at some other options with changing up the lineup because it's not working right now.
Well, Brendan, it certainly looks like Brendan Gallagher's days with the Canadiens are over. I mean, they've been playing Joe Veleno and they've been playing Kapanen ahead of him. I mean, what changes would you look for game 5? Bringing Gallagher, would that give them a spark, or does Marty just stick with what he's got?
It's really hard. I mean, because, people are crying out for change with good reason. And, but you're not like sitting on a bunch of great players on the sidelines waiting to go. I was honestly, though, surprised he didn't go to Gallagher for game 4. I mean, you think when they brought him back into the lineup, he was a real spark plug earlier. I think he could bring something. And I mean, you know what? He could bring something, and there's a bunch of guys who are bringing nothing. Like what's Kirby Dach doing there? I mean, this is like, to me, is incredible. You're in a physical, hard series, and you've got a guy who, he sort of came to life a little after he blew it in the Tampa series and came back. But if you're not going to do anything else, hit some people. I think Gallagher could be useful. Frankly, how could it be any worse than Game 4, right? So bring Gallagher in, and you're not going to play him much because, God, he just doesn't have the energy anymore. But he can, like he went out on that first shift against Tampa and scored a goal. He can score goals still. And what he can do is get all over the other guys, irritate them, which is something that's not happening at all, and maybe get in front of the goalie, too, in his office, right, where he's right there. And, if they could shoot the puck, and we've been discussing that, how hard it is, and both because of the way the players play, but also because of the way Carolina plays. But if he could be on for like 6 or 7 minutes, I mean, look, it's not working with what they have. I would put Jacky in. I mean, yeah, he makes mistakes. You know what? Every single defenseman on that team's been making a lot of mistakes in recent games. And, I think he brings that X factor that, could be useful. But yeah, Galley for sure. And also, you know what? Chances are Montreal's not going to win this series. Chances are Brendan Gallagher's not going to be back next year. I'm a sentimental guy. Put him in last game as I have.
Yeah, well, Kirby Dach mentioned earlier, I mean, the plan was for him to be the second line center, right? And that hasn't worked out. I mean, the fourth line winger, as I mentioned, he had no shots, 1 hit in Game 4. I think, I don't know, it's time run out on him as far as moving forward. He's a restricted free agent in the summer, Rick.
Disappointment. He showed a couple signs of, okay, yes, Kirby's come along. Kirby is doing some things that we've been hoping for. And then, boom, the switch got shut down. And he's just one of those easygoing guys. And I don't know if he's hurt. I know that he wasn't on the ice the other day. There's something lingering there. But, mentally, he doesn't seem to have that real drive to make the difference. And there's, he's been given opportunity. He's a big body that they could use at this time, and he hasn't responded. And that's a disappointment. And I think when you see something like that as an organization, when it comes to decision making and the type of player that you want moving forward, I'm not sure that he's the one that strikes the type of guy that they want to hang their hat on, because he hasn't been able to make the difference consistently that we were hoping that he would do. And again, it's all about take advantage of your opportunity, and if not, somebody else will do it. And I think right now somebody else is going to have to do it for him.
Brendan, I wrote a column earlier this week, talked about the similarities between Martin St. Louis and Rod Brind'Amour, both long careers in the NHL, both modern day coaches, both player coaches, they're created a family atmosphere with both teams. Brind'Amour's been there 8 years. Marty's only 4 years. Red Fisher, great Red Fisher used to have a great line, show me the players. Is there something that Marty can learn from Rod Brind'Amour, or is it just a case of Brind'Amour having better players right now? Or better playoff players?
I think it kind of is a matter of having better players. I don't consider Rod Brind'Amour an amazing coach. I mean, I think what everyone says about Rod Brind'Amour, he has one system, and that's the system. And look, it's working. It's going gangbusters in this series. I think this series has exposed Martin St. Louis in his inexperience. He's a good coach. Part of the reason they're here in this conference final is the way he inspires his players. He's a great coach for this young team, but he has been outcoached in this round. But I don't think he has to learn from Rod Brind'Amour. I think, in my view, the knock on St. Louis here is he hasn't adapted enough. And it's like, it's one thing, he's got the motivational thing, he's got a hockey IQ, but you know what? The game is happening in front of you, and you need to change with the game, right? And it really hasn't been happening this series. I'm really surprised because he changed things up more in the Tampa series when things were going south a little in the second half of the series. I just actually was astonished that game 4 started and everything was the same. Okay, don't change the lineup, though I would have brought in Galley and Jackeye, and a lot of people would have brought in Jackeye. I think that, he brings something. It's one of the things that's been happening in this series is they've been crushing the Canadiens. They look when they go after Lane Hudson, Carrier skates the length of the ice to hit the guy. Someone needs to deal with that. When they run Dobesh, and it's Jake Evans who's taking care of business. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. But also, even just with like he started making the changes in the second period to switch up the lines, but the game was over. It was 3-0 against the Carolina Hurricanes. Forget it. You're not going to win that game. So why did you not change the lines before? I mean, it's that first line's not working. It's just not working. So I think. Look, it's fine. It's only his 4th playoff series as a coach, but you got to adapt. You've got to move quickly. You've got to move quickly in games. And look, it's a learning process. And just like the team is learning how to win, I think Martin St. Louis is as well.
Yeah, when the Hurricanes are up 3-0, I said to Herb Zukowski in the press box, never mind 4 goals, the Canadiens might not get 4 shots. Try and get back. Because, being Rick, you've been a coach. A big part of being a successful coach is selling your system and getting the players to play it, right? And Rod Brindamore has spoken during this series about how I just tell them how I want them to play, and then it's up to the leadership of this team to drill that message in. And it obviously is drilled in deeply because they all play that way. Have you been part of teams before, Rick, where that's sort of just like the players, just everybody 100% is bought in? And it's really been impressive to watch. It really has been.
Something will never change. The players make it happen. And I can only relate back to some of our successful years. And you look at your personnel, you listen to the coach, but when you get into these, finals and playoffs, it's all about making sure you don't let this one slip by you because you never know when you're going to get a chance again. And you have to credit Carolina. They have some guys that have been close before and haven't been able to finish what they started. And they know that. And I think as a coach, once you see that with your group, they are going to find a way to respond. You can say what you want, coaches, but your player is going to make it happen. And you just have to kind of steer the boat, so to speak, and just kind of, open the door and let them go. And the players make it happen. That'll never change. And if you have that luxury to have guys that have a real good understanding of how much extra you have to give to make the difference in between wins and losses is a huge bonus. And I can always relate back to the group we had in the 80s. We had a great group of guys that understood the little extra that they needed to do to make the difference between winning and losing. And that comes with experience.
Well, making the playoffs in today's NHL is a real accomplishment. I mean, Carolina 8 years in a row. They've been to the conference final 4 times during that span. Really impressive. But for the Canadiens, youngest team in the playoffs 2 years in a row making the playoffs. It's not all doom and gloom. I mean, there is a bright future looking forward. But I think the Canadiens have learned a lot from this series about what they need to do moving forward to become like the Carolina Hurricanes. Anyway, that's it for this week's Hockey Inside Out show. I hope you all enjoyed it. We'll have 3 bonus episodes coming up over the next few days, so you can look for those. Game 5, as mentioned earlier, against the Hurricanes will be Friday night in Carolina, 8 o'clock start. And if the Canadiens win that game, Game 6 will be back at the Bell Center, where the Canadiens have a 2-6 record in the playoffs on Sunday. The Hockey Inside Out show is available now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out YouTube channel.